For real, y'all, forget an intro. Just watch this. And so I swear to God, if y'all need to pause this video right now and go pleasure yourself somewhere, by all means, do so. That's exactly what we need to see. Iron sharpens iron. Stephon Diggs, Trey White, Stephon Diggs coming out on top. That's a nice little tasty tidbit of what went down in practice today. But Dom Mafia, it is not an episode to go over practice today. No, we are going to be discussing the winners and the losers. No, I don't necessarily think that there are any losers, but we need to give an in-depth analysis of people who absolutely showed out during training camp to solidify themselves on that 53-man roster. And we need to talk about the losers, people that had either unforeseen circumstances or just overall piss-poor play that's essentially going to make them not make this team. I have 3 winners, 3 losers, and we're about to hop into it. And so, but before that, guys, in case you guys are wondering what my predictions are for the 53-man roster, I know that I made a video about a month or 2 ago, like prior to even when Bills players started reporting to their facilities, but I'm due for a new one, especially since Friday is about to be the deadline where they need to cut it down to 53. I'm not doing a video, I'm doing a podcast. Me and Aaron Williams are going to be knocking it out. It's going to be the second episode of Believe in Bills. It's either going to be dropped late tomorrow night or Thursday morning, maybe even earlier. We're figuring some scheduling issues out, but whatever. Be on the lookout for it. You won't want to miss it. Subscribe to Believe in Bills and other Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever the hell you do listen to podcasts. Dom Mafia, yeah. So like I said, we really have a little bit to talk about as far as certain players that have won and have lost during this very odd preseason, this very odd training camp. And I figured that we might as well just start off with some of the winners. Number 1, Gabriel Davis. There's absolutely no way. There's no way that I couldn't have put him on this list. Gabriel Davis has proven to be the steal of the draft. Now, granted, he didn't really have any real game experience in the NFL quite yet, especially since we didn't have a preseason. But ladies and gentlemen, what you need to understand is that he was lining up against the first team defense of the Buffalo Bills, the best defense in the NFL. And if there were to be a preseason the first couple of games, he most likely would have been running with the second team, going up against second stringers from other teams that would barely make their roster if there were a preseason. Gabriel Davis has proven that he can be that 50-50 ball guy. He can be that power receiver that can be the threat in the red zone. And so come down with the ball when we need him to most. He's showing that he can be an absolute force on that field. And judging off of his training camp performance already, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be on this 53-man roster. Number 2 is Zack Moss, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this was sort of a shoo-in, right? Soon as when we drafted him, it was almost obvious that he was going to take the field and make an automatic impact. And from what training camp reports have said about Zack Moss, not only will he be a complement to Devin Singletary, some people are under the impression that he is a better running back than Devin Singletary and might prove to be Buffalo Bills' number 1 RB. Now, for me, I love Devin Singletary, and I still think that he's going to control the majority of the snaps this year. And you've heard me say this a million times, Zack Moss is going to be a goal line back, 3rd and short, 4th and short, certain scenario type of running back. But then once you start doing more research and understand that he was the Pac-12 All-Offensive Player of the Year last year, he was an absolute stud in college, and the way that he's been able to establish that he's a bit elusive himself and he's not just the bowling ball that he thought he was, things are looking up for Zack Moss. He's done great in camp, and be on the lookout, guys, because our backfield is about to prove that running the damn ball is the only way to do it, baby. And so number 3, this is definitely interesting. I'm going to have to go with Reggiegilliam, a name that I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't expect me to say. Now, we all know that right up until recently, he was trying out for the team during the fullback position, but apparently he did so well that although DeMarco wasn't competing against him, Gilliam was recently named a tight end. So there's a lot of questions here. Is Gilliam going to make this team as a tight end? Who the hell are we going to get rid of on the tight end roster? Maybe it's Croft. Maybe it's Lee Smith. I mean, let's be honest, we're not getting rid of Knox or Sweeney, but the way that Gilliam has performed, and although Sean McDermott was in the camp saying that he still has a lot to improve on, it says a lot. Moving him over to tight end essentially means, look, we're keeping DeMarco. He's too much of a veteran presence in this locker room. He's been effective for us, but we like what you're doing. Say that the coaching staff were to move Gilliam over to tight end only a couple of days before the deadline to slash the roster down to 53. Things are only looking up, and Gilliam seems to show the world that he can play whatever position that you throw him in there. I think Gilliam's going to make this roster as a tight end. You think I'm crazy? Just watch. And so yeah, Down Mafia, with winners, there are always losers. Everyone that thinks everyone should get a trophy, there's bound to be losers. And here they are for the Buffalo Bills. Jake Fromm. And no, we're not talking about his dumbass antics on Twitter that occurred a couple of months ago. The guy has largely underimpressed. And so it's interesting, especially since training camp started, I was on a manhunt trying to find some type of reporting on how exactly he was performing during camp. And the only line that I could find was days that we don't mention Jake Fromm are good. Because that means no news is good news. And Jake Fromm apparently has had a very shitty camp. But at the end of the day, he was kind of from the beginning. I do know, and I'm sort of pissed that we wasted a pick where we probably could have got some more talent. I don't know, maybe the offensive line. But it seems like Jake Fromm is just not making this team. Right before I did my 53-man roster video a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month or two ago, I had Jake Fromm being the third quarterback on the active 53, but based off of his performance, looks like he lost on his opportunity. He's probably going to be cut, maybe practice squad, who knows. And so next, this is probably going to rub salt in a lot of wounds. I know that my audience is divided on how they feel about this player, but unfortunately, I think Christian Wade is on the list of losers. And like I said, not a loser like he's not capable of playing the sport. He's just a victim of circumstance. Christian Wade came into training camp with basically all the odds against him. Last year, he had an opportunity to shine and show exactly what he can do against different defenses across the NFL. Granted that they were second string or third string. Unfortunately, guys, I think that Christian Wade just didn't demonstrate enough, and he was surrounded by such a star-studded running back cast that, in my opinion, there is no way that he is going to make this team. And it really doesn't even have to do with the fact that maybe his performance was not good. I mean, I'm sure that he had some fantastic plays, but I mean, at the end of the day, when you have a room like Devin Singletary, Zack Moss, and then of course you have Tywan Jones, who is an amazing special teamer, and then you have TJ Yeldon, who in my opinion was underutilized terribly in 2019. I just don't see Christian Wade making this team. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I love the story. So he was a fantastic rugby player, but unfortunately, I think due to the fact that he's just surrounded by so much talent, and I believe he missed a couple of days through injury, I think training camp hurt him rather than helped him. And so last but not least, it is the wide receiver depth room. Now, when it comes down to our depth chart, I don't want to give it away because I want y'all to listen to mine and Aaron's 53-man projection, but it's really those bottom receivers, man. And so I think Duke Williams, Foster, of course, and even Isaiah McKenzie might be screwed out of making the final 53-man roster. It's sad because all three of them have done some amazing things during training camp, but unfortunately, for the first time in Bills history, and it's really not doing any of those three names that I just mentioned any favors, we are stacked in wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Gabriel Davis, and Isaiah Hodgins, and Andre Roberts. So many people talk about that, oh, dude, we're definitely cutting definitely cutting Andre Roberts. You're fucking out of your mind. There's no way that you're legitimately going to cut one of the best kick returners in the entire NFL. Most kick returners, you probably put a third or fourth wide receiver in the depth chart as the kick returner. For those of you who are saying, oh, no, dude, let's throw Diggs in there. That's dumb. No team does that. Say, for example, that the Bills were to go with a 7 wide receiver room for the 53-man roster. And granted, that really wouldn't even make sense to me anymore either. But say that anybody were to make this team, it would be Isaiah McKenzie, just because of the camp that apparently he's been having, and then number 2, his ability to run those jet sweeps and really be great depth for the Buffalo Bills. Now, that's hard to hear. Especially once I say that fan favorite names such as Duke Williams, Christian Wade are most likely not going to make this team. But that is going to be my winners and losers video of training camp for the Buffalo Bills in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, holy shit. This has been a very long process of me being able to cover training camp from start to finish. I'm going to go on ahead and say that my training camp videos have concluded after this one. If you like it, smash the fuck out of that like button for me. These videos, I love making them, and I love it even better when I see the Don Mafia smashing that like button. Say that you're new here. My name's Dan Mitchell. I make a shit ton of Buffalo Bills videos, some NFL videos. If that's your cup of tea, smash that subscribe button and join the family. And before I let you go, always remember, let's go Buffalo.